is seen. You can check that your name is seen on the participants list so that it's your at least first name and where do you come from. And during speakers, so you can have at least your microphone off. It might be better that also your camera is off when the speaker is speaking, and then we have discussions, and then you can open also your camera so we can see you and discuss properly. And we are going to have a plenary discussion later in this webinar, and then you can raise your hand if you have something to share. And all the time during the presentations, you can add questions to the chat, and we have a discussion part after every speaker, so then we can discuss also from the questions that you have raised up in the chat. So today we have 4 speakers. At first we have David, and then we have James from SCIAF, and Hugo and myself. And now we are going to talk about fundraising campaigns and how to make a successful campaign. And first a little bit about the organizers. That picture is taken last year, 2024 in April, and we are from 4 different Caritas Europe member countries, and we are all doing fundraising, and we have had this kind of project that is developing fundraising in our countries, and we want to learn things, and one way to learn is to teach. So this is kind of learning also to us, and we want to share that what we have learned, and that's why we have these webinars. And then we also going to send this recording to all those who have participated, and also this webinar and previous webinars will be then on our website. And I am the contact person for this project and the webinar series. And this is actually our last webinar of 4, and let's see what happens then after this year. But it has been a joy to having these webinars and get to know new people around Caritas world. I am now going to stop sharing my screen. And then now I think that David, you can start your presentation.
Laura, thanks so much, and thanks for the invite to present to the group. I'll preface my input by saying that I'm a communications expert rather than a fundraising expert, but our Lenten appeal in Trocaire, for those who don't know us, we're Caritas Ireland, and our Lenten appeal is our biggest public fundraising appeal every year. This year was my 22nd Lent, so I'm hoping I can do it a little bit of justice, even though I'm not a fundraising expert. But I would like to bring out the cross-working, I suppose, between particularly our fundraising and marketing colleagues and the comms team. So I know quite a short window, but I'll try to whiz through this. I'll share my screen, and now I won't be able to see you guys, but Laura, once I share, if you can just say yes that you can see it. And
yes, I can see.
Okay. Oh, sorry, guys. I just need to start the actual slideshow. Okay, from beginning. Sorry, we were so great on Zoom and then we changed to Teams, so bear with me. You might see the slides down the left-hand side, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. Okay, you can see that, yeah? Okay, so Just in terms of Lent for Trocaire, it raises over 7 million euros every year to support our work. And very critically for us, it's unrestricted income, which means obviously we can fund programs that find it difficult to get institutional funding. And the one that springs to mind for me is human rights work in Latin America. Very difficult to get IF for that. So this unrestricted funding means we can fund that work ourselves. It's a completely integrated and collaborative appeal involving the country office, fundraising and marketing, church, development education, communications, and outreach teams. So it's really, really collaborative. And it's a really good example of what we can achieve when we work together internally. Just for those who, sorry, yeah. So decision making, executive leadership team sits at the top, and that's our directors. We then have below that the Lent Project Board, which is made up of heads of function. The next group is the Lent Coordination Group, which is officers, and then the implementing teams. Very important to point out that it's not just top down. Actually, it's fed mostly from bottom up. So the ELT would just be sign off. The Lent Coordination Group and the implementing teams would come up with new ideas, and the Lent Project Board can sign those off as well. So, yeah, there is a structure there. And I suppose to some it might look top heavy, but it kind of reinforces the importance of this appeal for the organization as a whole. This is the kind of Bible for us, and it's a RASI. You'll all know what that is. It's a framework to show who's responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed on each of the different elements. So this is a huge document. Every single operational element of the appeal is listed, and we actually have all of the functions to the right and even individual names, and you'll see there what each person is responsible or
Okay,
accountable
David,
for.
could you tell a little bit slower and present that what do you have in different columns? Because that tool is perhaps new, at least for me.
Sure. This is a screenshot. So what I will do is I will try to get a link, which I will include in the presentation that I will share with you, Laura. Would that help?
That helps, yes.
Okay. It's very basically every single little thing we do, both pre-appeal in preparation, during the appeal, and post-appeal. And across the top, we have all of the different functions that are involved. And within those functions, the individuals. So under each name, for example, you will see an A or an I or a C or an R. And that shows that that person is responsible, accountable, is consulted or informed. So it really is the Bible for us, for who does what. And there are timelines in there as well. So it's a really, really useful tool. And those who haven't used it, I would recommend looking at something similar. Um, in terms of timelines, I know Laura, you were keen for me to put this in. It's like it's never ending, Lent, really. So while we're implementing, for example, Lent 25, we're already thinking about Lent 26. So there's a huge amount of preparation, etc., done. That's the planning timeline. And again, this is in the presentation that will be shared with you. So as early as February, March in the previous year, we start looking at selecting the country. And that's through collaboration with our country teams. Um, we prepare to do a content gathering trip, and that usually happens around the middle of the previous year. Now, out of the content trip, we get everything we need to prepare. So that will be video output, it will be photographs, it will be stories, and from that, all of the other teams can start their work on preparing their various pieces of collateral. We come up, comms and fundraising and marketing, work on a key messaging document, which is shared with the other teams. So it means we've got a really cohesive, consistent message across everything. So comms and F&M are always on the content gathering trip. Okay. And you'll see the other steps there. It's self-explanatory. Collation of the content. Then the teams start working on the resources. We look at resource distribution. We look at a media trip each Lent, and I'll talk about that in a little more detail. We have our Lent launch, and then we implement the media trip. So it's all very structured and quite extensive, as you can see. Sorry. So I'll whiz through some of these quite quickly, Laura. This year's theme and country was Guatemala, and we were looking at it, poverty through the lens of climate change. So climate change is our organizational advocacy priority for the next 3 years. So we tried to bring that into our Lenten appeal. And we did that through every year we pick a family or a community to illustrate the work we do right across the world. But we use their story in depth to be able to deep dive for our donors and for our publics at home. This was our beautiful family in Guatemala this year. You'll see in the left-hand side a little collection box. I know some other organisations use a similar tool. This has become an institution in Ireland over the last 50 years. We print about 500,000 of them each Lent, and they're distributed through parishes and through schools. In past years, it would have been a very tangible collection method, so people would actually put their money in. Some people still do, but with the advance of technology, it's as much symbolic as it is an actual structure for collection. But a lot of work goes into the Trocaire box, so we call that our core unit, and it goes out, as I say, to schools, to parishes, to families, along with all of these other materials in the core pack. And it always features the family and gives their personal story. You all know people connect with people, not with statistics. So we make it very relatable. And these are all, of course, real program participants. They're families we are actually working with in the field. An overview very quickly, because I know you guys are mostly fundraisers. This is just a campaign overview of our TV. So this is our paid for advertising that our F&M colleagues look after. We've got our TV, our radio, our digital, our core unit that I just talked about, our support materials, and then things like out of home. I had to look that one up because I'm not a fundraiser, but it's our out of home marketing above the line. We then go on to some of the visuals. So this was an initiative this year. It was a new activity. We tried Tap to Donate and put a giant Trocaire box in the centre of Dublin to interact with the public and create a bit of interest. So that was one thing we did. We also then had, this is our out of home. So there's various examples there. I'm going to whiz through these because they're all in the presentation for you. Obviously our print advertising, our TV, which featured the family themselves. We had our digital outputs, and I've actually thrown in a performance social media for those who might be interested. That's there for you as well. That's the F&M side of things. But as I've mentioned already, there are many more teams involved. So it's a massive push on all of our different audiences. So to run through some of those outputs, I've put in some of our highlights from our church work, and I've added, Laura, a link there to our church resources, which are online in case people might find them useful. So we've loads of things in there, including homily notes, Stations of the Cross, Season of Creation. There's a lot of stuff in there for our church audience. We then obviously have our direct marketing, so our direct mails, which a lot of you will use. So there's some examples of those in there for you as well. We have our schools fundraising, so our schools audience are incredibly important to us. I'll make a slight distinction here. There's schools fundraising that's quite separate to development education. So we have our fundraising team look after the school's fundraising, and we have our dev ed team look after the development education. But there obviously is crossover between the two functions in our supporting schools. So we'd loads of things for the schools. We then look at, again, schools. So there's some initiatives in there that might be of interest to some of you guys. This is our Dev Ed. So we have our Dev Ed team going out to schools during Lent, and also our team going out to speak at masses. I don't know if some of your organisations do that, but Lent is seen very much as Trocaire time here in Ireland. So we would speak to hundreds of parishes across Ireland during Lent, and all of the teams get involved in that. So I would go out speak at masses. So we will give either homily or a sermon, not a sermon, but an address after communion, for example. And we find that a great multiplier, a great way to meet and speak to people where they are. And the same in development education. We'll go out and give workshops in schools. We will give them advice on fundraising mechanisms if they want to fundraise. Really important. And all of these things come together to make the appeal the success that it is. We also have a great volunteer network. Now, I know not as big as some of the Caritas Europa members. I heard figures that flabbergasted me at some of my meetings. But we have a really dedicated core of volunteers. And what we've started doing with them over the last few years is having them support us with things like mass talks, with check presentations in schools, and they're absolutely invaluable. So there are ambassadors in the community, and the leverage they can bring with their own networks is absolutely astounding. Get on to my first love is the comms. Okay, so we have a fully integrated multi-platform communications plan. This is for the fundraisers among us. This is the non-paid. So it's our public relations work, it's our media work that we don't pay for. Okay. So results wise, over 1,100 hits across broadcast media and online, a potential reach of 390 million. An AVE, some of you guys will know what AVE is. It's the advertising value equivalent. It's the only financial metric we have. I think it's quite outdated, as do many others, but it's the only one we have. So this would basically be the amount of money it would have cost the organization to buy the free coverage if we'd had to buy it through our marketing team. And it was nearly 6 million euros worth. Um, the media trip I mentioned earlier, we always try to do a media trip. It's really, really important for us. So this year we took away a broadcast outlet and a press outlet. And the trip alone resulted in nearly 100 hits with those reach and AVE figures. So I would always do a cost benefit analysis after each trip. So how much did the trip cost the organization and what was the value of what we got from it? And it's always really good return on investment figures. And the one for that trip was nearly 24 to 1. And you fundraisers will know that that's a pretty good ROI. We also, as the comms team, try to come up with a concept or a thought-provoking stunt or photograph that will launch the appeal countrywide. And you'll see on the right there, this was the concept we came up with. So we linked the effects of climate change to children's education in the global south. So I got a local school and we set up this photograph in the largest loch or lake in Northern Ireland. So the kids sat in the lake, and the headline was "Climate Change Washes Away Children's Education." It got picked up on front pages of national media, national print media, and also national radio spotted it and thought it was thought-provoking and had a discussion on that as well. So it was a great way to kick the campaign off. There's some key digital stats in there as well, and this is obviously the non-paid for. So this is the comms team again, and some really healthy stats there. I've thrown in that slide. It's a breakdown of the media trip. It's something I always bang on about. I don't know if your organizations host media trips or organize them. For those of you who'll be in Vienna at the Comms Forum, I'm actually giving a plenary presentation on the art of the media trip. So anybody that's there will hear more about that. And then I suppose finally, I've put in a slide that might be of use to some people just about future-proofing the appeal. So it used to be called our Lenten appeal. It's now our Trocaire box appeal because the Trocaire box, as I say, is iconic and we want to link in with that brand recognition. And the last slide is just key new initiatives. So the actual future-proof activities, they might be of use to some of you. So that's kind of whistle stop tour of our Lenten appeal. It's a massive appeal, and I hope I've done it some kind of justice in the short space of time we have together. But I'll also include my email address, and if anyone has any further questions that maybe come to you after this particular gathering, feel free to reach out, and I'll help if I can, and if I can't, I'll direct you to someone who hopefully can. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, David. Um, I put a link to the chat because we had Sarah Byrne as our guest in our previous webinar, so people
Ah,
can check that out. She was talking mostly about the campaigns with schools.
perfect. It links in perfectly because
Yeah,
Sarah was involved last year. Yeah.
yeah. Um, Now it's actually time for discussion. We have plenty of time. So, one thing that I noticed myself, so there you have one family are kind of the face of the campaign. Could you tell me but that why you are concentrating on one family?
We concentrate in one family, Laura, because our research and feedback from donors has shown that if we go too broad, too wide, um, people lose the connection. They lose the connection. So what we're trying to do is appeal to people here in Ireland, and that will be mums, dads, grannies, grandfathers, teachers who will find themselves in the same family unit, but just because of where they were born, the family in Guatemala is facing all of these struggles. So we try to make that direct connection and just as importantly, the authentic voice. So we want to amplify the voice of our program participants. And we find it's much more effective to do that on a family to family or individual to individual basis.
Hmm.
Now, we will, of course, bring in the wider context. So we'll talk about the community and, the community's church and what they do together as a community. And we go and visit the school there. But front and center is the family, but we make it clear as well, Laura,
Hmm.
that this family represents the tens of thousands of families right across the global south that we work with. And we just find it is so powerful when you have a family speaking to a family almost.
Yeah,
That's the reason.
yeah. Um, and and with the family, you also want to raise emotions that to the donor, I think.
It's 100% emotional storytelling.
Yeah,
Emotional without being disingenuous.
yeah,
It has to be authentic, as you know.
yeah. Is it hard to convince that to the fundraisers that you have to raise stories and raise feelings? Because fundraisers usually tend to be interested in numbers and some kind of numeral effects that campaign has.
Fundraisers, and I'm very aware of my audience. Um, we work terrifically well with our fundraising colleagues. We're all on the same page, and they know as well as we do that to get to those metrics, those KPIs that we
Mm-hmm.
all have, and which are so important, we'll only do that through this methodology. And they know that emotional storytelling and that authentic sharing is the way they will get to their targets.
Yeah.
So we're not there's no tension there, which is fantastic, because otherwise it wouldn't be a success.
Mm-hmm.
There are, of course, and we'll all know this on this call, tensions do arise with different units because everyone has their own priorities. But we've found because of this methodology we use from the very start, all of the teams are involved. So all of the teams have ownership. So it's not siloed working.
Yeah.
It's not individual teams. It's
Hmm.
very collaborative, and it just works.
Yeah. Thank you. Does anybody else have questions? Now you can raise your hand and then open your camera and microphone. We have time for discussion. Yeah, Hugo, please.
Good question. David, thank you so much for your presentation. It was so useful. And all the links and all the metrics and all the report you made, it's really amazing. And really appreciate that you will share with us because it will be very useful for us. I have a question. It's
Sure.
when you saying that you are planning for 1 year in advance, like you are planning the land. You mentioned that you have 3 teams, like the implementing teams, the land team, and the other team. I don't remember. How many people are involved in each team, in each different team, and if are all of them from Caritas, Trocaire, or are there also different people from partners or the church or the schools, or how you create the teams for each different group?
Yeah, no problem, Hugo. So the teams are all internal. They're all in. So that's an internal structure for us. But um, in our various collaborations externally, and when we're getting our context with our country team, when we do our media trip, Hugo, um, we give a voice to partners. So localization is one of our priorities. So we always will make sure that our partners are represented in all of our resources, that our program participants, as I've already said, are front and center. But those teams I mentioned are purely internal. Now the LCG, or sorry, the ELT, the very top level is directors. There's only 6 on that, for example. The next level down, I think there's maybe 10, and then the actual where the work's done is the Link Coordination Group, and there's representatives from all the functional teams on that. So there's about 15. The last couple of years, one innovation or one improvement in my eyes that we've done is we've included a representative from the country office on the Link Coordination Group. So the country office has a voice in the planning stages the whole way through as well. So I would recommend if you're doing similar, make sure your country office is represented and that it's not just home-based people that are making the decisions. But we, of course, will liaise with our diocesan representatives in church, with our supporting teachers when we're working on resource production. Hopefully that answers the question for you, Hugo.
Thank you so much.
And then there is Anne who has a question.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask how you got on with your giant Trocaire box. It looks amazing.
It was something our F&M colleagues did, Anne. It created a lot of buzz. Now I remember we did it about I'm showing my age now, about 20 years ago in Belfast. And I remember even from then, it creates a real buzz. It was a tap to donate. I'm not sure of the results, but what I will do, Anne, is I'll speak to colleagues in F&M and ask them what their learnings were from that.
Great.
And I'll share that through Laura for you as well.
That would be really, really helpful.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Of course, I'll do that.
Great, thank you.
Then there's one question. Siba, please. You have raised your hand. You can open your mic too.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. David. I would just like to know as lesson learning in terms of donors engagement, what will you notice from the campaign?
Again, just slightly outside my area of expertise, Siba. That would be our F&M colleagues in terms of if we're just talking about fundraising and about learnings from that perspective. The last couple of slides might be of interest to you about future-proofing and learnings going forward. But what I will do is, again, as I said to Anne, I'll speak to colleagues and see if they have specific F&M learnings that I'd be able to share with you. So I'll take that away from this as well, Siba, and share it with Laura so she can share it with the group. Would that work for you?
Okay. Yes. Thanks.
Is there any more questions? Maybe not. So now it's time for Anne, please.
Thank you, Laura. James is our senior content officer. He's actually away and traveling to Rome soon for Laudato Si. But yeah, we did a little film together in preparation for this. So I'm hoping that Hugo will be able to share that, and I'll say a few words after, if that's okay, and take any questions from everyone.
Okay, just let me try to share it in a moment. Okay, with sound. Yeah, can you see it?
Yes.
Yes? Okay,
Yes.
so let's see, I will put it.
ndikaona azizanga akumanga mungangati anyamata mtima wanga umakhala kupweteka. naserafu JC11 ndimalima ganyu komanso ndimatungira madzi njerwa. ndimavutika kumbali ya mapezedwe ya ndalama kuti ndipeza bwanji ndalama yoti ndikagulire mwana sopo chakudya chimakhala chondivuta. anazalengezesa mafumu kwaziwisa kuti kwa achinyamata apite akaphunzire ntchito zamanja. ndipo ine nditamva chimenecho mtima mwanga ndinasangalala kuti apa zili bwino, tsogolo langa lija litheka. ndi mmene ndinapita kukalembesa ukayamba kuphunzira. ineyo chimene ndinkaona ineyo ndikalakalaka nditaphunzira ntchito zamanja kuti ndikaphunzira pakhomo panga samazavutike ndizangopanga china chilichonse mmene ndingafunire chifukwa ntchito zamanja ndizothandiza. palopo ndimatha kupanga chiseko mosavutikira. ndimapanga mafremu mawindo sachi anthu kumakondanso kusangalala kuti tsikana uyo wapanga chinthu cha makono oposa nyamata. ine panopo ndilosangalala kwambiri ndipo ndimanyadira ndifika pa nthawi imeneyoyo anthu ankandiona khangati kuti munthu wachizimayi sangathe kuthekera kupanga chinthu, komano panopo anthu akuzindikira kuti munthu wamayi amatha kusakaso ndalama. panopo ndimakhala kusangalala kwambiri chifukwa kuti mmene ndaphunzira ine mwana wangaso azakhala ndi tsogolo lowala. kumbali ya chithandizo samavutikira ngati mmene wayamba sukulu ndati chilichonse imene angafunire ku sukulu nditha kumampangira. uthenga ine ndiona kuti panzimayi wina aliyense ali ndi kuthekera kugwira ntchito zamanja. palibe ntchito yoti iyi ntchito iyi ndi ya munthu wamayi kapena iyi ntchito ndi ya munthu wabambo. aliyense atha kupeza ndalama. kumanga nyumba zimayiso atha kumanga, ukalipentera omwewo palibe ntchito yogawa kuti iyi ndi ya uyu ayi. ndiye tisamaziweramire pansi azimayi kuti sitingapeze ndalama. si nthawi yolira koma yoyang'ana patsogolo kumagwira ntchito mosaziderera.
Hi, I'm Anne Collin. I'm from SCIAF. I am part of the ACT group, and today I'm joined by James Cave, who's our Senior Content Officer, really just to talk about photos and content that we need really for our fundraising. So James, can I ask you to tell us a little bit about some of the trips you've gone on with SCIAF?
Sure. Hi, Anne, and thanks for that lovely intro. So for SCIAF, I've been fortunate enough to go all around the world over the last few years. I've been to Rwanda, Zambia, Colombia, and most recently Ethiopia. And I suppose I'm extremely privileged to go and visit these projects in person and see SCIAF's work every year, and it's kind of like a real shot in the arm that keeps me very inspired to produce the stories that SCIAF puts out on their channels.
And can I ask you, what conversations do you have with partners and with staff in the office before you go away on the trips?
So it's really important to have a good relationship with your partner organisation before setting off. And quite often I might not know terribly many of the staff. It might be the first time I've kind of worked with them. So always put in a call or a series of calls to get to know the local partners, but also to hear about the type of work that they're doing. And then from that, you can then sort of try and work out a sort of loose plan so that you can visit the types of projects that, your fundraising or your education teams might require. So most recently, I travelled to Ethiopia, as I said. And one of the focuses that fundraising were interested in looking at was about issues of water security. So obviously heard about the different types of water projects we do. So in the south of Ethiopia, for example, is quite often responding to drought and climate change challenges, whereas in the north, obviously there's climate change impacts, but also the sort of consequences of post-conflict situations. And so once I've sort of heard that context, I'd explained kind of how long it takes me often to work with participants, how long it might take to build rapport, and then to get the photo and video content that SCIAF might need. And obviously what I did find from that trip was that by having really long chunks of time with each participant was really important. The longer you've got to build a rapport, explain why you're here, ensure that you've gotten the correct consent, the better the interviews tended to be, the better the photography was, because, there was opportunities to laugh, there was opportunities to, properly listen and have a really genuine encounter with the participants. So that's one thing. And then the second thing, I suppose, that I've learned from SCIAF trips is to it's not book in too much, but also not to be too rigid with what you want, because often things will change, particularly in sort of conflict zones like Ethiopia or Colombia, where I've also been. You need to be quite open to moving quickly or to changing plans. But often that, again, brings quite real content, which I think is what SCIAF's good at.
So you mentioned there about content. What kind of content are you aiming to get? So
given obviously the budget kind of constraints that SCIAF has, we have one big trip a year to collect content. And then in the rest of the year, we might have small trips with local contractors, local photographers and that kind of thing. So the trip I'll go on is 2 weeks, and really the aim of that is to build content for our big appeal of the year, which is our WeBox Lenten appeal, but also to get other case studies for other bits of work that we'll do in the following years. The content is split really between a number of different departments. There'll be content for advocacy, so quite often that'll be collecting partner testimony about issues such as debt or climate change. There'll be fundraising content, so that will be getting stories which will obviously be used to bring in donations from SCIAF supporters in Scotland. And then another big thing that SCIAF does is development education. So a fairly large focus is about capturing content about daily life, about culture, about food, about dance, about religion, and that will then feed into our fundraising, but also our sort of wider purpose.
And can I ask you, what are you most proud of? What makes really good content?
I think for me, really good content is about telling a story really powerfully. And quite often, I think the most powerful stories are ones which have a really strong arc. So that would mean a participant that perhaps was struggling in one aspect of their lives, but thanks to the work of SCIAF and our partners, that challenge has turned into something that they can manage, and it's allowed them to either earn more money or help themselves climb out of poverty. So those kind of stories where you can really get to know a person, really get to understand their lives. That's what I think makes a great story. But obviously, as part of that, it's telling the story in a dignified way, and it's not just about honing in on one challenging aspect of their life. It's presenting them as full human beings with aspirations and hopes and ambitions, and making sure that you also capture, their humanity. Is not just a challenge that you're visiting. You're telling the story of a whole person.
Well, I first got involved with SCIAF 10 years ago, and we were chatting away one day, and he said, "You must come on one of our trips one time."
Our approach to helping people is not handouts, but giving them skills.
We make peanut butter ourselves, then we sell.
So group yonse bamutabalingo chisho kuverenga akulemba but bakishivu.
I was kind of working on a solo record when I came back. This song at my weakest point, I'd had some music for it. I thought, well, I don't quite know where this is going,
That's a tricky one, that I highlighted this project. I'm a soul scientist and I'm mad enthusiastic about soils.
The change I've seen has been absolutely unbelievable.
The SCIAF was started because some people in the Catholic community wanted to make a difference in the world.
Great, James. Can you tell me what you think makes a really good photo?
So, a really good photo for me would be a photo that tells someone's kind of entire story in one frame. So, it's something that, for example, I visited a farmer in Tigray who had been supported to grow this chicken business, and so for that, obviously trying to get that story across in one frame was asking her to kind of hold a huge barrel of eggs that her chickens had given, and making sure there's loads of chickens in the background, and she's smiling, and the photograph is sort of taken, not looking down on her, it's kind of looking up or looking across, so that she kind of looks like a bit of a hero in the story. So I think for me, it's making sure that you can look at one image and basically understand what SCIAF has done. So again, that could be in a sort of water context, be a load of kids splashing around in water at a water pump, and that kind of just, it not only shows that community's been supported with water, but kind of implies that, fun and joy and love has returned to a community. So I think that's what I'm trying to do with pictures.
And what makes a really great, powerful video when you're thinking about whether it's a short clip or a longer film? Because you've done both, right?
Yeah, so I suppose there's some technical things that I think are kind of important in terms of just the basics for a video, making sure that, the content's in focus, the sound quality is good. I mean, sound is really, really vital in ensuring that stories get told well. Making sure that there's enough B-roll. So B-roll is, if I was talking to someone about being able to grow more food, you can then cut away and see a participant, for example, harvesting some tomatoes. So making sure there's enough B-roll to support the interview means that you can, create a nice rounded video. And obviously, video is an extremely versatile medium in that you can add music and you can grade the picture so that it fits the tone of the film. But then I suppose as well, good video for SCIAF. I think there's always got to be a current of sort of hope and that a better world is possible. I think without that strand, the content falls flat and doesn't really serve what SCIAF's trying to achieve.
James, just how important do you think content is when we're looking at like a fundraising appeal?
Yeah, obviously I think I would say that content's got an important role, as it's a big part of my job, but I think we've definitely done appeals in the past where we've not had very many pictures or very many quotes, and the problem with that is that you end up telling quite a one-dimensional story, and SCIAF staff have to put their stamp on the narrative. Whereas if you've got a lot of quotes, you've got a lot of stories, a lot of video, you can just let the participant's voice shine through, which I think is definitely vital at the moment with the way that development practices are moving. And I think it also ensures that you're not just telling a single story of struggle. You can tell a more rounded narrative about someone's life, and I think it's that kind of storytelling which drives donations.
Thank you for sharing the video, Hugo. Really appreciate that on the tech side. Just to say, we're incredibly lucky to have James as part of our SCIAF team. He's done some really amazing photographs and videos in the years he's been at SCIAF, and has made a massive contribution, I think, to the work that we can do. I think that the stories that you can create using photos really add to any campaign. They're very emotive, and they really they bring you into someone's world, don't they, when we look at those participant photos. So I think it's really important for our campaigns. I think James made a really a good presentation just there, just talking about how he builds up rapport, both with the partners that we work with overseas, but also with the participants. And we need participants to know why we're taking the photos and capturing their stories, and making sure we've got consent and that they're comfortable with that. Not everyone is, but when we are able to capture those stories, they're just incredibly powerful. And I guess the other thing I'd say is he stressed it there, but spending time and not having a really rigid timetable of what you're going to do when you're on trips, I think is really, really helpful. And I think you probably heard from James's voice there. He's a very laid back person, and does it incredibly well. I guess I was just going to close off by saying not only are they very powerful in our fundraising appeals, both the photos and the video content, but also we're actually kind of using content in slightly different ways in our fundraising now. So over the past 2 or 3 years since James has joined SCIAF, we've actually had a number of film showings. For example, the one that you saw in that presentation just there included just very brief clips from something called Dignity, which we actually did a film premiere in Glasgow. but the actual film, I think, was about 45 minutes long or something. It's a proper lengthy video, very, very powerful. But we've done film showings, so we sell film tickets and people can support SCIAF in that way. So that's been really nice. And the other thing is, and thanks for David for shouting out and saying great photos from James, absolutely. And we decided that we were going to make a calendar for the first time this year. So there will be a calendar. It's not on our website yet, but it will be at the end of October. Or before, whenever they come back from the printers. But yeah, we'll be selling calendars as well, which feature some of the photos that James has taken on his field trips. So yeah, I hope that gives you kind of an insight into a bit about the way that we use content at SCIAF, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Anne. Now we have plenty of time for questions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can start it. I have one question for you, Anne.
Thank you, Hugo.
That's now you mentioned the calendar. That's a really nice idea, because then you are taking advantage, or you are using the resources for the field trip, and then using that to raise money. So it is really a good idea. What I want to ask you is, when James or someone from the communication department are planning this field trip, or this kind of media trip or field trip, how is the involvement of the fundraising department? Do you help to create a guide? Do you specific request some things, or some stories, or even numbers? How you work together, and how you prepare before, and then later all the contents for your fundraising activities?
Thank you. Yes. So I would have to say that we don't have quite as good of a structure, I don't think, as Trocaire do. I really liked hearing about Trocaire's structure for building Lent campaigns. Ours is a bit more informal, I would say. So we invite everyone along to a Lent launch meeting. We start planning early, exactly the same as David. We would start planning. We're already planning now for next Lent. We're already thinking about 2027, should I say. So we've already been on the field trip for 2026. All of that material's been captured. Before the trip even happens, you're absolutely right. A huge amount of work goes into it. So we will get together as a group when we start thinking about it. And it would normally be, you're normally working like a year and a half in advance, I guess. And we would say, okay, so what is the country and the theme? And we would pick what we want to look at. So 2026 for us is going to be water, and it's based in our Ethiopia. It's actually a joint office with Trocaire and CAFOD. Actually, we went there and we visited, and we're using that as our content. Before James goes, we have lots of people from different teams chip in. So, for example, our schools team might say, oh, we want a day in the life, which shows a young person. They wake up, what do they do? And actually, that's really powerful when we take that into schools, because they can draw parallels, washing, going to school, playing with friends. It's just a really, really nice thing. From a fundraiser's point of view, we absolutely send James off with a little shopping list. So we'll say, we would like we do a similar thing to Trocaire in that we have a collection box as well. So we'll say we want a main family and a main person that's going to feature on our collection box. We will say, so for next year, we knew that we were going to add the walking challenge that we're doing, almost like a walk for water connected to this. So we're doing a walking challenge. So we knew that we needed powerful photographs that showed people walking with water as well as people, with taps and, all of these things. So we've got so much different content that will work really well, both for a direct mail piece, but also for the other events and the things that we want to do inside the big umbrella that is Lent. Is that helpful? Does that answer your question, Hugo?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you so much. Thank you so
You're
much.
very welcome.
Now I see David's hand.
Yeah, it's just to maybe add what Anne has said there, and it's just something that I've learned over the years, and very similar to how SCIAF do it. One of the most important things I have found before a trip is making sure there's a TOR, and it's making sure that everyone is bought into that TOR, so your terms of reference. So very like SCIAF, we will have a shot list that we'll send away. We'll have those particular asks from, again, like Anna said, from our development education colleagues, from our church colleagues. But it's making sure, I really emphasize this, make sure you tie down your TOR beforehand, and it makes sure that the roles and responsibilities on the trip are in there and that everyone is on the same page. So you know what you're going to do, you know what you need to get, and you know who's responsible for it. Because if you don't have that, usually we have such a short window on those trips, and I'm sure James, if he was here, would agree with me,
Yeah.
that you've really got to be really structured, and make sure every evening look at your TOR. What did we get today? What do we need to get tomorrow? What did we miss? What else did we see that we could get? And work as a team when you're there. Sorry, that probably sounds so basic, but I've been on trips years ago where, there wasn't maybe a tie down TOR, and it makes things so complicated. And the last thing you do when you go into a community is, be milling about and not using your time efficiently, because as James said in his video, you want as much time to build rapport and to make people comfortable. So that would be my one big bit of advice before trips, is get that TOR tied down.
Yeah, agreed. Thanks, David. Thank you. Samuel, do you want to ask a question too? Hello.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Great presentations, James as well as David before. My name is Samuel, Caritas Kenya. Just two quick questions. I just wanted to know how you are able to design your campaign in such a way that you're able to deal with the donor fatigue from the people that you're appealing for. Now that this would be the case in my background, there would have been many appeals targeting the same group. So how are you able to deal with the problem of donor fatigue? And secondly, if this comes together with the Lenten period, how you able to deal with the fact that Lent traditionally is associated with humility, sacrifice, and reflection. And here we are using the same period to fundraise at the same time. So again, how are you able to balance this? Thank you.
They're great questions. Thank you so much, Samuel. Yeah, I guess the first one on donor fatigue is something that we're really conscious of. like some other organizations, I guess, in Caritas, we've had to reduce down the number of countries we work in and the number of projects we can support. But what we've ended up with is 7 or 8 priority countries, as we call them, with limited themes, really. And then we do emergency work outside of that, which actually means we're working in about 15 to 20 countries, depending on the year. So I guess donor fatigue is a really interesting question, because actually what we find is that most of our best fundraisers tend to be with either water or livelihoods work. But obviously you need to keep changing the way that you present the work or what you're asking people, right? Because you're absolutely right. It just looks like a different face, but the same thing. And we're very conscious as we plan next Lent that some of our supporters, most of our supporters have been on our database for decades. And we want them to know that actually the donations that they've been making over the years have made a difference. It's just that, it's incredibly difficult in terms of the context that people are living in. So we still need to ask, because there's still need, right? So I guess donor fatigue, we do try and we will change themes. So although we know that water and livelihoods are, people really resonate with those themes, we have done a lot of conflict appeals. That's quite hard, to be honest with you, to fundraise for, because people see it as preventable or whatever. But no, I think it's focusing in on human stories and saying, people get caught up in conflict, not of their own making, and you can help them. They're in these terrible situations, they're vulnerable, they need your help. So I think we do different themes, a bit like Trocaire mentioned. We do have climate change would be another theme that we've done, or things like gender, and work with women and children, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I guess it's using different themes. And we do try and switch between continents as well. So we don't always focus on Africa. I would say we do try and feature our work around the world. So we do try and feature Cambodia. We've done Colombia. We've done a number of. So we do try and not just be Africa focused, so that people can see that it's global work in Caritas that we do. And hopefully that answers your first question. Then your second question was just about Lent and fundraising in Lent. And I guess for us, and I'd be interested to know what David has to say on this as well, but for us, very much the culture here is almsgiving. So it's a time for giving, it's a time of thinking of others, and that's why I think our message lends itself really, really well during Lent.
Is there now any more?
Does that answer your question, Samuel? Is that okay?
Thank you.
Yes, quite rich learnings from that, and congratulations, all the best.
Thank you, and you.
Is there any more questions? If not, so then we might have a 10-minute break almost. So it's now 12:37 in Helsinki, and if we come back then at 45 after the short break, then 45, we continue.
So it's only 8 minutes, right?
Yes.
Okay. Short coffee break.
Thanks, Laura.
See you.
Okay.
end of November.
There are now some people in the waiting room. I have to check that.
Yeah, already.
Okay, great. Nice to see that people are coming back. Welcome back from the break. I just remembered that I didn't put the introductory ask to the chat earlier, but you can now write to the chat that who you are and what organization. And there was also a question to tell me that why fundraising is important. You can figure something out. But while people are writing answers to the chat, so we can actually go on with Hugo's presentation, and we can look at the chat every now and then. And after Hugo's presentation, so then I'm going to have a small presentation, and then we have some discussion afterwards.
Yeah. Okay, Laura, I will ask you to admit people. Meanwhile, I will present.
Yeah.
And hello, welcome everyone. So nice to see so many people from different Caritas. Actually, I have here a colleague from diocesan Caritas Beja. It's really nice to have Thelma with us. So nice. And in my presentation, we'll join Vit Bex from Vadato. He's our consultant partner for the digital fundraising. He will also speak a little bit during the presentation. So in what I want to start introduce my presentation is we have been two examples like SCIAF and Trocaire, how we plan the campaign with time, so with resources. So, and I was really impressive and really really touched because it was really well planned and really amazing the work you've done. What I will bring with you now is how to planning a campaign without time, without planning and without resources. And so it will be a different approach, how we manage to create this campaign. So I will start presenting. So it's better. Okay. Okay, can you see it?
Yep, can see that, Hugo.
Perfect. All right. So I will talk about the most recent campaign that we made. It was an extraordinary campaign because there was a need. It was not in our annual plan, in our annual activity plan. So it was really an extraordinary campaign that our executive board asked the fundraising team, which is only me, okay, and another person that is only focused on corporate, but in individual, it's only me. So we had to raise 80,000 euros to support a national program that we have, that it's promoted by Caritas Portugal. And it's for our national network, for our 20 dioceses. And the goal is because we were running out of funds, so we need to put more to have more donations to still continue running the program. So we created this campaign that it's called the Caritas Tudo é Real. It's in Caritas, everything is real. So we starting to make a calendar. So it's they ask us to create this on May, so this last May. So The campaign was only for 3 months, from July until September. It's finishing now in the 30th of September, so we're still running the campaign. And the strategy when we were creating it was to appeal for donations by presenting real stories from our beneficiaries or by our participants. We want to also to strengthen the campaign's presence in digital platforms, because we are using traditional, but we want to improve and strengthen our presence in digital platforms. And we some activities to do during the campaign. I will translate them later in the slide, so don't worry, just to have an idea of the main activities. And all the focus of these activities is to raise funds, of course, but also to taking the donors to our donation landing page that we create for the campaign. So the most important dates, it was the 15th of July when we officially start the campaign. We launch a traditional press release to the media. Then in 20th of July, we send the direct mailing. So it's almost of the activities that were in the board that I showed before. And then we also try to disseminate to our Caritas network once they will benefit from the funds, for them also to use the campaign materials on their own platforms of communication. And then we start to use monthly our newsletters. Just a quick note that we only started to send newsletters to our donors in the beginning of this year, in January. So there was something we didn't have. So we starting to create monthly, and also we create one specific newsletter campaign that we sent to them. And at the end of August, we were invest in putting payment in the social media. And also we had an event when we prepare the planning. We planned to have an event, and then something happened that it was this football legend that appears, and we put in this campaign. So we have always a budget goal. It's 80,000, and for the expenses, for the cost of the entire campaign, it was 10,000 euros, and we separated by each activity or different channel of donations. So going through for each activity, what was the and as you can see, in June, when we were preparing and planning just 1 month the campaign, the first thing was to create a graphic image, so the related with the strategy that I was talking. So we create a presentation for the executive board. Once they asking me, we showing all the activities and the budget, and also we create a briefing with designer, our designer and our communication agency. So it was me and my colleague from the communication that were working on that to see what kind of contents to put in the campaign. So then they create this different image. Also the community agency, it's an outsourcing. They designed the communication plan, and we started to collect the testimonies, the picture, and produce different videos. And as I mentioned, then later on we mobilized the national network to also to disseminate the campaign. Then, as I mentioned, 5th of July was the launching date, and then we started to have interviews with our president in the radio and TV and so on. And then 1 week later, we sent in our direct mailing printed for our donors. It's we always use this because it's still a very powerful tool to raise funds. And then also we try to send proposals to our major corporate donors for them to support us in this campaign. As I mentioned, the strategy was to collect testimonies from our beneficiaries, from our participants. And then I will show just here very quickly the video, just for you to have an idea that the style or the format of the videos that we created. It was at least 4 or 5 different videos.
O meu nome é Carlos Nunes, tenho 62 anos e vivo atualmente em Setúbal. A minha ajuda face à Caritas foi muito importante para mim, tendo em conta que eu me encontrava numa situação de sem-abrigo e recorri à Caritas exatamente para pedir alimentação, porque também já não tinha como me alimentar. Durante o decorrer do processo, acabei por ficar também sem possibilidade de vida. Estou extremamente agradecido à Caritas e ao pessoal que trabalha na Caritas, e o meu testemunho é tudo o que eu tenho hoje devo à Caritas. A minha história é real e a ajuda que a Caritas me deu também.
So he was talking about his own life, how Caritas support him in his life, and he's really thankful to Caritas and telling to others to support other people like him and support Caritas to provide more service, social service. Okay, I don't know.
A ajuda face à Caritas foi muito importante para mim, tendo em conta que eu me encontrava numa situação de sem-abrigo e recorri à Caritas exatamente para pedir alimentação.
Okay, got it. Now, then we also create different campaign materials. This is nothing new from you. It's for the social media with posts and stories for Facebook and Instagram, to disseminating the traditional payment methods like transfer bank or using the ATM reference and so on. And also creating posts and stories linking to the landing page of the campaign, and mostly for our online donation forms. So in the website, we also create in the homepage the banners, news and articles, and also we create a landing page for desktop and mobile. Just show you how we create it very quickly. We put the button as well to go directly to the online form to avoid people to waste money, and if they're coming from links, go directly to the online form donations. And this is all about testimonies and the impact that we are creating in these lives. And then people can choose the different methods, if it's an individual or a company, and starting the donation. So another thing, it's then the newsletters that I mentioned. So this is just a little short image about the newsletters. They are bigger than these. So this was the monthly, and we highlighted the campaign. And actually, it was interesting of the top links of this newsletter was the landing page. So it's quite interesting that people saw and went to the landing page. And then also the individuals, we had 25% clicking on the donation button. It's quite good as well. And then also for the companies, it was less, only 60%, but 29 click the button. We don't know, we cannot measure if they make the donation. We just can report if they went or not the page. So and then we ask the communication agency to create specific materials for the advertisement. I have here one video. You can see later one because I will give you the presentation for you. and also carousel posts based on the campaign for the advertisement. As I mentioned, we are running the campaign, so it's only the end of September, so we don't have at the time a lot of data to measure that. But actually, in David from Trocaire presentation, it was really helpful to see the different metrics that we can use it, and we can ask the communication agency to give them their report of the reach of the audience and so on, in the impact, the print pages and so on. So here we have the event. It was a football game because it was between the campaign. It was the Legend charity game. I also have here the videos, as you can see, and we were one of the beneficiaries. And there's also a video that we created to show how was the event. Okay, and now evaluating, see the graphic of the online donations and taking account with the different main activities, we can see that it was have some high peaks. This was the when we launched with the traditional press release. It was not that much of donations. This is the amount, and then as you can see, the direct mailing. Printed and also online, because in the printed we put also the link and a QR code to go to the online form. You can see that it's really increased a lot the donations, and then even in the newsletter was okay, and also with the campaign newsletter that I showed before, it was decreased, and then we had in the day of the campaign, it was a good amount of donations. And then here we're starting the advertisement, and we didn't see any impact of that. And then in the event, it was not the purpose to people to go to our website. It was more go to the stadium to see the game, but it was really good in media because a lot of people reference us. So another more evaluation and data that we have to update in the end of the campaign, but it's about the landing page. It's interesting, this number. We had 1,000 new users. That is quite good. And these are the page of the campaign that were more seen. That was not that so much good, because it will be better than it was in the beginning, but that's okay. In August, we had 2,000 new users, and they still being in the ranking in the 5th until 7th position. So by type of payment method, we also evaluating. So far, until 15th of September, we raised 60,000 euros. So the goal was 80,000, so we're almost there. And by this is the you cannot see, but this is the online methods, the digital fundraising that we made. So it's quite good, and this is still the bank transfer, very high, because we had a major donor, one of the company, that they're only themselves gave us 20,000 euros. So that's why it's so big. So we have the different methods. By entity, we also make an evolution a report. It's mostly of them are individuals. As I mentioned, only one organization. And here we are talking about parish, congregations, companies, and so on and so on. We had a lot. But if you can see by new individual donors, we had 31 new, 80% of the total of the 400 that gave to us, and only one new corporate donor. And we also are mentioning this. And regarding to the ROI, it's 5 euros for everyone invested. It's not that impressive, but it is okay. So in this process, we had the Vadato consultants to work with us as a theoretical consultant. We had regular meetings, monthly meetings to support us and the communication agency to build these digital platforms and this digital fundraising. And we sharing knowledge and experience. But Vit, that with us, he will explain a little bit more about what we did together. Yes, Vit,
Yes.
the floor is yours.
Thank you, Hugo. Hello, everyone, from my side again. My name's Vit. I work with Vedato. I just noticed that we only have a couple minutes left, so I'll be quick. I just wanted to explain a little bit more what we did to support Hugo and his team with Caritas Portuguesa. And so I would break it down to 5 steps. Number 1 was obviously the assessment of the situation. So we wanted to analyze, their communication channels, or all the media involvements, and everything that goes together with that. As we were starting basically from zero, the collaboration, we haven't worked together before. The second point of the assessment was obviously getting to know the campaign. So at one point, Hugo explained everything to us, and then we were able also to move to the next step, which was establishing the strategy for the online campaign. And so, as Hugo may have already mentioned, directly or indirectly, we were focusing on Instagram and Facebook advertisement. We decided to stay focused on these 2 platforms as opposed to be using YouTube or TikTok or other platforms that Caritas in Portugal wasn't present on for now. And a very important framework was the AIDA framework, so awareness, interest, desire, and call to action. And we used this framework for basically any content that was either written, so in the newsletters, or even in the videos. We tried to do that as much as we could, as we have made an extensive, positive and really good experience with this framework and using it. And with regards to content, we went mostly with the short form content, so rather short videos, just for a couple minutes, that are intended to be very engaging at the beginning, so that we don't lose the viewer. And a very important point was also the targeting. So we are establishing our perfect donor, or perfect. And it's a big question nowadays, targeting, because you can create what's called lookalike audiences on Meta, which works very well, but also the natural targeting that the Meta algorithms are proposing nowadays are also very, very good. So it's always a question whether or not you would go for it or not. And so that was the second part, and the third part was then a deep dive into technical aspects. So I went to Portugal, and we had a full day basically of working together, Hugo, his team, and I, where we were looking for the ways how to implement the strategy that we have established in the step before. The fourth step being the campaign execution, which is still basically happening until the end of the month. And and also important to say that this step was entirely in the hands of Caritas. We as Vedato were only included in, let's say, the theoretical consultancy, and available for any questions that may have popped up throughout the process. And then the final step is going to be the review and the evaluation, a takeaway, which will probably happen in the upcoming weeks.
Yes, probably I will say this, and then you can add. It's our last slide, and just when we were talking together, me and Vit, to kind of preparing this presentation and making a self-assessment, it was kind of recommendations that I want to bring to you. It's start planning early, like SCIAF and Trocaire does, and as we see before. And also have a lot of more content that than we need, as we also see before that it's when we in the field visits collect as much of pictures, videos, and so on, and testimonies. Using testing, we didn't go through these, but it's really good when you start to using the test AB. Also, because we we are a small team to follow up more our partners regularly. It was something that we need to improve. And also one thing it's one person just focused on online, because if you are like me, one person in online, in offline, making the direct mail, the newsletters, the everything, the link with the communication agency, so it's really sometimes busy and chaotic, and this is being our challenge, like staff shortage, lack of technical know-how, because I'm not expert in this digital fundraising. That's why Vadato was helping us. Even the communication agency, we just only start in beginning of July, so it's a new partner that we started in 5th of July. We launched the campaign, so you can imagine how is to articulate all these things, and also lack of time to test and put in practice other tools, like we were setting up the donor journey in MailChimp, but it was not possible to do in a properly way. So it's more or less what we prepared to you. Here you can have our contact, and yes, and Laura, sorry, probably we take too much time, but we are open to questions.
No problem. We can then shorten the common discussion part later. But if you have any questions to Hugo, so please ask, and Vit too.
And if you don't have, it's okay as well. I hope it was helpful.
So I would just like to add, if I may, just a quick note. So
yeah,
we didn't really have a lot of time to introduce also Vadato and what we do. But if any one of you would be interested in our services in consultancy, both in digital or a general fundraising consultancy, we also have some financial products that we offer specifically to the NGOs. Please reach out. Hugo also included my email address. There is a website called vadato.io that you can go to and see anything you may need. I remain available. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So if there are not any more questions, so I can share my screen and start my presentation. I hope you see my presentation, and I try to make the presentation mode on. Yes, I succeeded. So my name is Laura from Caritas Finland. I'm doing fundraising and communication, so I'm doing both. And we are the quite small organization. There is one country office in Finland, in Caritas Finland, and now we have 5 full-time workers, if I remember correctly. We have been growing this year, so I'm not so much myself always. I don't remember how many persons work in our office. And that's why I'm going to make a short presentation about Caritas Finland. So, and the fundraising that we are doing. So, our most important target group in our fundraising activities is Catholic parishes, and that we are putting a lot of focus, and because Finland is mostly it's a Protestant Lutheran country if people belong to any religious community, and most of them are Lutherans, and there are then many other organizations, also non-denominational organizations that are doing fundraising, and there's only Caritas Finland and also the Catholic Church that are focused on doing fundraising among Catholic people. And that's why it's kind of, I think it's a good idea to concentrate on Catholic people, because it's hard to break also the barrier in kind of common discussion and in kind of how to spread the message across the country, because while we are also a small organization, so we don't have much funds to do fundraising, for example, pays up for kind of mailings or have TV shows and so on. So we are doing a lot of things by ourselves in our small office.
Laura, excuse me. I don't know if you are moving the slides, but if you are, it's not moving.
Okay, I tried to move it. There should be some that is called Caritas Finland now.
We are in the 10 slides now. Is it okay? In your 10 slides. Fundraising with parish starts with small steps. Is it?
It should be a little bit forward.
Okay, so it's not moving.
Okay. I will stop sharing and then start again. I saw that it was changing on my screen, but thanks, Hugo, for saying.
Someone alert us in the chat. Thank you to, I don't know who. Federico. Grazie, Federico.
And
now you can see.
Okay.
New project builds parish.
Yeah. Actually, I had the. Okay, let's talk about this one. The first slide was mainly about the Catholic Church in Finland, so we can skip that part, and you can then to look that later, because I'm going to tell more about fundraising with parishes in Finland. So we have now 2 projects where we have learned that we need more personal contacts with parishes. One is this project that we are now having these webinars, and also we have this project that started last year that is funded by German Bonifatiuswerk, and that's the project that wants to raise and create new volunteer activities and find new volunteers from our parishes around the country. And we also want to deepen the contacts with the Catholic Church. And now, during this year, we have found 5 to 8 volunteers. We call them Caritas ambassadors. So we have some kind of contact persons in some parishes, not yet in every parish, but I mean, when I say every parish, so we have only 8 parishes in the whole country. So we are building this new network, and we are actually having next week our first training for those Caritas volunteers in parishes. So it's interesting to see that what kind of people we have found to our network. And then we have noticed that when we go to parishes to, for example, to look for different kind of volunteers, so we have noticed that the members of the parishes they are very multicultural. So there are a lot of immigrants who have moved to Finland, for example, from Poland, from Philippines, various African countries, and they all have, or not all, but most of them have a different point of view from the countries that they come from, that how they see Caritas. And that affects also to the expectations to Caritas Finland. Sometimes people ask that they want to be a volunteer in our for refugee center. Then we say to them that, okay, we don't have a refugee center here in Finland or something else. They have seen some larger Caritas in some other country, and then they come to Finland and ask us that how can we help, and they say that they need accommodation, and we don't have a possibilities to give accommodation to people. But then yeah, it's then hard to get to know ourselves in parishes here in Finland. Now I try to change another slide. And this year we have done some plans how to change also fundraising with different parishes. And we have some ideas that we have found. We have learned that the texts in our materials have to be understandable when we make posters, or website materials. So they mostly are in Finnish and in Swedish and then in English. And then we hope that people understand these languages. And we are, for example, now you see the picture of our latest poster that's in English. And there are not so many words there either. So it has to be a short message that we ask. And then we have to ensure that donating is easy. And we should find out that do people use QR codes, like we have a QR code on the poster. And that code goes to the website where you can read more about the project or the campaign. And then on that website, there is also a link to the online donation page or some other means of donating. Here in Finland and other Nordic countries, we use this mobile pay. You go to the mobile pay application and then you put that short number to the field, and then you write a message more specifically where do you want to donate. And then we also put the bank reference number and the bank account number to the poster, that if you go directly to your own online bank. But if you go to donate via our online digital platform, that's perhaps that we want to do them in the first place, because then we get also their contact information, that who is donating and their emails, and then we can also later send an email and ask for new donations from them. And then we should study more that do people have cash to donate. For example, with parishes we have at least 2 collections for Caritas in first of Advent, and then Palm Sunday. We have these collections in parishes, and then I think that people doesn't carry so much cash anymore. So then we have to have other ways to donate, and those mobile pay numbers are quite good. And actually, I saw in in Netherlands, they have this kind of donation machines that you can donate with a card reader. You just click donate and then show your card to the machine, and then the donation is going, and the machine tells that how much they are taking from your bank account. We don't have this kind of machines here in Finland yet, but we have to think that how should we get them. Actually, I saw that kind of donation machines also in Budapest in Hungary. So there are some kind of machines, but they are not spread here to Finland yet. And then I have noticed that in parishes there's a more study to do, like we need to know that what people think about, for example, what do they think about Caritas and what are they thinking about fundraising? And sometimes people ask that, okay, are those people Christians that we are collecting money? And we have to think that how do we reply? We can say that, okay, it's that's in Catholic social teaching that we are supporting people regardless what they their background is, but sometimes that we have to learn what to answer to them. And or sometimes people think that we are collecting money and then we send that to Africa or some faraway country. And actually this year we were collecting money, our Lent collection, to Finland and to our own work in Finland, because Caritas Finland works also here in Finland, and we have this kind of help in social issues. And for example, we before Christmas we then give low-income families, we give this kind of food or gift cards that they can then buy Christmas presents or food for Christmas for their families. So we also need donations for our own work. And then I wish that we could make some kind of donor survey, and also some survey to our potential donors. For example, every another year. I made a survey, was it a couple of years ago, and then I found out in the survey that people are valuing the thing that Caritas is the Catholic organization, because there are many people who want to support Catholic organizations. And next week, actually, when we are going to have this volunteer training for Caritas ambassadors, we have to find out the ways that how could these people also help us in fundraising. So those Caritas ambassadors could tell about our fundraising activities in their parishes and spread the word that why it's important to donate and where the money is going to and why it's important to help. And we also have to kind of find new ways to do cooperation with the parish leaders and priests around the country, because sometimes they are not reading our emails, and then we have to find some more effective ways. Sometimes we have to call them or send WhatsApp messages and so on. So we have to find better ways to communicate with them. Luckily, there are 8 parish leaders around the country, so it's not a large amount to handle. Okay, that was actually my part. I forgot to put there that we are not, yes, we are not having TV commercials, but we have social media posts, and then we have text on our website, and then we have posters in parishes, but we are not sending any donor mailings to people because that costs a lot. We have actually in Caritas Finland we have members, so people can be a member in our organization, and then the members get also printed mails once or twice a year, so that's our printing material, but we don't have a lot of kind of letters that we are sending because it costs a lot. But that was my part. So if you have any questions, so you can ask me, or then you can give me some advice that how in some kind of that what can we do in this kind of a small organization when we don't have much money to raise money. For example, we don't have much money to send so much letters to people.
Laura, I have a question. I see in the chat one partner that it's probably, I don't know if this is the one that you mentioned for Netherlands, for the digital donation terminal, their modus. Probably you can ask them to if they operate in Finland. We have Portugal. I will show a message, a picture. I don't know if I can put in the chat. We have one of these in the Cathedral of Funchal, so it's in Madeira Islands. It's run by the parish, by the priest, and they are using this. It's quite effective. I was talking with the priest, and they are using this because the Cathedral of Funchal is one of the most touristic points of the city.
Yeah.
So they have there in the enter of the cathedral, and once the people cannot pay for the visit, it's free. A lot of people donate with the machine, in the machine, you know, and with card, it's a card, and it can be helpful. We don't use this in Portugal because the parish, it's the field of the diocesans, but it's something that you can explore and it can be very interesting with your.
Actually, it was some guy from Modus called me 2 years ago, then I said, okay, thank you for the information, and I promised to spread the word among Caritas community, and thanks for this contact information. I have bought a candle via this kind of Modus machine. It was in Utrecht or somewhere in Holland. I remember it was last year. So they are really, really easy to use, those machines.
So it's something that you can offer as a service from Caritas Finland to the parish, and also to somehow, you know, part of the money that you collect, it's to support the community or your program, national programs or something like that. It's one way you create a link with the parish, and also offer something that can be national, and then also they implement in the local. So, and and thank you. I was thinking your presentation, and for me it's really nice to the work that have been done, because almost 1.5 years ago we were in Finland, and you were starting to this relationship with the parish and the fundraising campaigns with them, and it's so nice to see that you are now starting, and you already have results, you already have materials, and then congratulations, Laura. Amazing.
Thank you, and thank you also for your support. And it was because we have had all kinds of fundraising before with parishes, but during these 2 years, so it's the personal contact, it's more and more important, and how to get to know people and ask them things. So yeah, it's yeah, it's a challenge.
What I have a question. What in this process, Laura? What are the feedback of the priests and the parish to you? Did they recognize now Caritas Finland as a partner? They want to make land campaigns with you. Do you feel they are more open? What you feel in this 1 year process? Do you think that there are space to grow and to make more fundraising initiatives with them? What do you think?
Well, the situation in Finnish parishes is that they are really poor. They need they usually need all the collected money themselves if they are collecting money in Sundays, but they are slightly or little by little they are accepting that, okay, Caritas Finland, if we get 2 to 3 collections per year, so they can have the rest of the collections, and they are and it takes time to convince them that because our collections are also helping them. Our collections to Finland are helping their own members too. We help also their parish members in our collections, and or then we might help the countries that they come from originally if they are immigrants in Finland. So we want to emphasize that that is useful to help.
Yeah, thank you, Laura.
Is there any more questions?
And he's clapping. There's one question. He's clapping.
Yeah, I think it sounds great, Laura. I know I think everything with relationships it's parishes and relationships that are going to get you places. It's the gatekeepers, the parish priests.
Yeah.
And knowing them and being aware of what their constraints are, working with them, which is where I guess some of our development education materials help as well. So we don't always feel like we're asking and we're asking. So if we can give back, so we do like Stations of the Cross and various other materials for them at key times in the year so that, we feel like we're helping them with their work too. So yeah, it's maybe another thing to think about, although I know you're very busy.
Yeah, and that's good to remind that we are not only talking about, for example, development cooperation, but you also provide religious material to parishes.
Yeah,
and
correct.
That's a good thing to remember. And actually, those who don't know who are now in this webinar, so on our website, there's our first webinar that we had a year ago. So there was a Mark from SCIAF as our guest, and he was talking about doing fundraising with parishes, and that was one eye-opener for me, that also those personal contacts and parish visits, they are really important.
Yeah.
And actually, you were mentioned that we are doing now the one meeting with them. So And Mark was talking about the meetings that they have, their annual meeting with more than 100 priests, right? And it's something like, wow, 100, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's nice that you are taking that best practice to studying in Finland. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Is it more than 100, right? And you know, I don't have the numbers, but I think it's something like, wow.
Yeah, so we communicate with all the Catholic parishes in Scotland, which is about, I want to say 340 something, but I'm open to be corrected on that one. So they hear from us throughout the year, but I think it's the tailored communications and those personal contacts that they really like. We do have parish contacts. We've got, don't know, I want to say about 90 parish contacts, and they're parishioners who go into those parishes, and they might give a SCIAF talk, or they might, take the children's liturgy and use that with children on a Sunday or something like that. So we're very lucky to have volunteers embedded into parishes in Scotland, and we do training with them every year, so they know what our Lent campaign is, and they know all of these things about the work that they're supporting. But yeah, it's a big project. Hats off to anyone who does fundraising with parishes. Yeah. Mhm.
Is there any more? Actually, because we have around how much time we have? Around 15 minutes. So we can now open the discussion for all. We have 20 participants, and we don't have to go to the breakout rooms. I think we can manage this amount of people easily in the plenary. But I could actually raise a question that what you have learned. You are open to say that what makes a fundraising campaign successful, what you have found out. Now, anybody who wants, so you can open microphone and camera, and then tell me or tell us that what makes a fundraising campaign successful.
Or even what was the one new thing that they learned today, or a new insight from the presentations?
Laura, I don't know whether it would be helpful to just, so I'm with SCIAF, I'm Caritas Scotland, and I think our all of our fundraising is geared towards overseas projects, but you're obviously talking about domestic as well. And I was wondering, and I know Portugal do that, but I was wondering, how many of the people on this webinar do domestic fundraising, and how they get those messages across.
Actually, one thing that I found personally challenging this year when we had our domestic collection, so because they are mostly low-income families, and then it's quite difficult to find stories from them, because it might be a parish member that is the person we are helping, that how to find the stories and pictures, and and we actually didn't have any faces from real persons. We had then picture bank photos, and that's what we have to tackle that issue, because because they might be the parish members, their neighbor that we are helping, that who is the face of our domestic collections.
What I can say, if you in my presentation, we are saying that we used our own beneficiaries, and they were chosen by our Caritas diocesans, because they are the one who are supporting them in the field. And what I can say, it's sometimes you have that afraid to not to show these people with dignity, or to not show at least these people. But what they bring to us, they were really interested to be part of it. They were really interested to show their own testimony, to thank to Caritas, to tell their story. If we had more than 1 minute, the video for them, it will be better than that. So, but we had to cut and select parts. So, what we felt with this campaign, it was not that so difficult to find these people, and when they were participating, they were really, really happy and grateful.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we did this with the help of our diocesans, because they know them, and also they will be there when we're producing the videos and collecting the audios, because also for them it's important to have the reference person, that it's the diocesan, for them to stay safe. But for us, it was really, really easy, and we collect amazing stories.
Yeah. And that's what we have to learn, that what we can tell. I know that Lutheran Church here in Finland uses those real stories from Finland to raise money. And also, for example, Caritas Malta, they used Maltese people stories in the campaigns. Caritas Malta is specialized helping drug abusers, and that's quite vulnerable group and also stigmatized, but they are raising money for them, and they get also money in very different collections. I'm looking at the participants list that now we don't have, unfortunately, anybody from Malta, but you should check how they communicate about their campaigns.
Maybe I can share a bit. Hello, everyone. My name is
Hello.
Coming from Caritas Bosnia-Herzegovina. Sorry for being late on the first part of the webinar. There was another webinar on social networks of Caritas Europa, so I prescribed for that one. But this topic was really on my heart, because it's really struggle also for our Caritas, any type of fundraising, domestical, I would say. One thing that I want to share is that we don't work overseas. We just fundraise for the activities in the country. Even if it's 30 years after the war, we're still struggling from the war 30 years after. So there is a big economical crisis and big political crisis, and people are going all over the world, and due to economical situation that affects the number of people that could donate to anyone, in Caritas particular. We are a small organization and in multicultural world, and we are not the biggest one who fundraise for the actions. So we need to compete also with other organizations. And number of Catholic people is really less and less, and most of them, I would say it goes to the category of Caritas beneficiaries, because they are old or poor or with no health or social insurance. So despite that, they even donate small pocket money for the Caritas, but this is not enough neither to run campaign. In this complex system, we also have diocesan Caritas structure who is supposed to fundraise for also their activities in general. So that's also internal battle, I would say. But what I with my small experience in Caritas of 25 years, I would say that what I see that there is a big solidarity and support when emergency occurs. So that's something that we notice a lot when it's earthquake, when it's floods, landslides, or something like a war or something. People are donating even above their possibilities and things. So I have no particular advice to share, unfortunately, but we are managing, we are celebrating our 13th anniversary this year. So somehow we fundraise for this, all these events that we are doing, all the activities. So let's say that we are successful, but true is that lots of donations are coming for the programs and projects that we fundraise from external donors from outside of the country, from different EU funds, different governmental funds of different economically better developed countries, I would say. Sorry for that. So we are struggling with the campaigning in country due to the poor financial and economical situation of the people who could donate. They donate small money, but it's really not enough, and it's under the costs of campaigning. So it's really few thousands of euro, which is great, but still not enough. You are spending much more money to promote, to send the flyers, to send the leaflets to the parishes, etc., etc. So there are many of challenges in this regard. But on the other side, I see that relationship with the parishes is very, very important and crucial. And that I think that according to the structural subsidiarity system, parish Caritas structure could, with its volunteers, help to needy ones in their neighborhood. It's easier that neighbor to the neighbor is helping thing, and Caritas gives a bit of its own contribution. We do have one day a year in our church, which is called Caritas Sunday. And on that day, it's in the third Advent week, usually before Christmas. So people are a bit more open hands with the donations. And we are fundraising for Caritas in Church of Bosnia and Herzegovina. So in whole churches, there is a mass dedicated to the Caritas, and the bishops are sending the message to the parishioners. The priests are reading this message, and all the collection of money is dedicated to Caritas. And we have in the agreement with the Bishop Conference, distinguishment of this money, how this money is distributed. 50% of this money stays to this parish for Caritas activities. 40% of this money goes to the diocesan Caritas for its own actions, and 10% goes to national Caritas. So this is kind of slot that we organize with our bishops for that one fundraising Sunday that we have in the church as a collection. And plus some additional collections when this emergency occurs. Unfortunately, they are occurring too often now, with different spots that are organized because of the floods, because of the war, etc., etc. So there are some actions, some movements, but I would not say that we are the best example how to do it. Yeah, I am here because I want to learn much more from you people, and thank you for sharing all those informations with us. It's very, very important, and any type of activities we learned, we try to implement, but like selling the candles, doing some charity walks or charity concerts or something, but this doesn't resonate in my society. So we need to find what is context-wise important and what is possible to be organized in the local context, together with the Caritas structure, with the church structure, with the in collaboration with other organizations who fundraise money a lot for the healthcare and treatments of the health for the people. So people are donating to the telephone calls, to the donations, so that people would be cured because our health system doesn't function properly. So I mentioned many things. Sorry, I didn't maybe answer to your questions, but I really wanted to share that thank you for all the sharings you do. I really do appreciate that, and small sharing from our side. So it's regarding this Caritas Sunday and this emergency fundraising. Thanks.
Thank you, Sanja. Is there any more questions? We have few minutes left. I put the feedback link to the chat. I'm sorry for the long form of the link, but if you click it, so then you can give us some feedback. And I will send these materials and also link to the recording to you afterwards. We will put the recording on our website, and then you can check also that later. But now we have a couple of minutes if you want to share something.
I will just say that is with the evaluation form, because at least on these 3 minutes left, because otherwise I know that people will forget it to do it. And it's really important to have your feedback.
Yeah, and I will add the link also to the email that I sent afterwards to all those who have registered. I also send the recording and the materials later.
Probably you can say that this project will end in this year, right, Laura?
Yep.
Everything is in the link page that you mentioned. This project will finish this year, but we'll still have a final seminar, and we'll be together to evaluate, to share another practice that we have, what we have been done during this whole year. And probably if we get some interesting material from that our final seminar, we will share, of course, in the landing page with you. And we will talking about our fundraising strategies. SCIAF will bring a lot of inputs from their contests and also for experts that they have for us. And I'm almost sure that will be useful and helpful for you. What they will bring, we will try to put that in a kind of kit or tool guide or whatever to also to share with you. Isn't that, Laura?
Yeah. We can deliver something later.
I just want to thank you to the team of your ACTS project. Really, I appreciate every workshop you shared with us. I think that you were the pioneer in these changes of preparation of webinars for the network as member organization. So that's great. Thank you for sharing all this. And unfortunately it's end, but I would like to continue because we shared a lot during these webinars, and that's really amazing. That proves that in the network we really have expertise, we have a good experience, and we have something to share, and we have something to learn from each other. It was good
nice to hear.
Project, and thank you. Yeah, that was great to be part of it. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you for those words, so lovely words.
And because there's for us, it's a lot to learn. And then we thought that, okay, we don't want to keep the information just in Caritas Finland in my head. So we want to share it with others because then we think that it benefits a lot of people.
Yeah.
But now it's 2:00 here in Helsinki.
Now it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah. But thank you for taking part of this webinar, and let's send emails then later.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.